on your screen. Here you can type in your question in the little white box, and of course we'll have ample time to answer as many questions as possible at the end of the presentation with a Q&A. Okay, so let's get started. So we wanted to first start off with showing the Western Digital progression. You know, about 40 years ago, we actually started, and it was the same year as Intel. In 1988, we actually started making hard drives. And of course, we became #1 in the market in that space. In 2007, we started making consumer-branded storage products where we have product brands like My Passport, the external hard drive, MyBook Live, and most recently MyCloud. And we, of course, are #1 in that consumer product market. And what you may not know is that in 2011, we actually started our Business Storage Solutions group. And of course, our ambition there is to be #1 in that market space as well. So on the next slide, we wanted to just show you our overall business storage solutions portfolio. We have our WD Sentinel S-Series that many of you may be familiar with, using Microsoft Storage Server OS. Down below, we have our WD A-Series, our Kia brand, where we're running a Linux-based platform. And of course, we have our WD Sentinel S-Series, which was just newly launched just a few weeks ago, last month, and that is our ultra compact storage plus server. And of course, that runs on Microsoft's Windows Server 2012 R2 Essentials OS. And so I'll hand it over to Paul, and Paul will give you a lot more details on our great, exciting new product.
Thank you, Steve. Today we actually have a mix of end users and solution providers, and so we're going to give you a business case market opportunity based on both points of view. And you know, we really wanted to start off with, for the end users, a view of the basic home network where you have a family of 2.5 kids, maybe some devices. The identity of who uses your network isn't as important because you own the router and you own your home. But when you take it to a business environment, the business requires the ability to manage people and resources. Everything on the network is a workstation. It's there for productivity, and every user needs to be tracked. And so in a business environment, you're going to need a domain server, which sets up the identity of your company. You can also use Active Directory to set up this single sign-on security for your users and also manage your resources. You have the ability to deploy an application server. You can dedicate a box for applications. And finally, when you and your users are really productive, you're going to need a place to store your data, either for sharing, et cetera, and we'll cover that a bit more. But there's storage elements, a network attached storage, for example, or even a SAN. And so the trends driving modernization to the typical business environment is happening right now. With the retirement of XP, what you're seeing is that new workstations are being deployed with the newer OSs. You see tablets, smartphones, and laptops of the Mac variety coming into the workplace in greater numbers than ever before. And essentially, everybody wants their employees to have anywhere, anytime access. Our workforce is on the go, and for the small and business environment, everything's the same. They have 90% of Office 365 was sold to small business, just an indication that it's about time for those that have existing, for solution providers that have existing customers to look at deploying a new infrastructure. And you can see that in Microsoft's trends and progressions. Windows, you may not know, is the #1 OS for storage platform in small business. And if you track what Microsoft's done, they've retired, dedicated servers and dedicated NAS. They've also retired point client products and Office. And this year, this fall of 2013, we've seen for the first time a convergence release. It's Windows Server 2012 R2, a server OS family, Windows 8.1, the client, and Exchange server. And that speaks to the fact that there's also a great opportunity coming up for the first server market. There are 63 million small and medium businesses currently without a server deployed. Their network looks almost like a home network, and it shouldn't, if you will. And 13% of that, or 8.4 million, fall into the opportunity of a first server where there's about 25 users and PCs. And so if you look at the use cases required in the modern business, it's a wide variety. Depending on your customers, some businesses can only have on-premise infrastructure, especially those that have high levels of requirement on privacy. But we've all heard from other types of businesses that there's a desire to use a private cloud and even public cloud in order to share information and make more use out of the internet. In that case, 74% of customers that had a trusted cloud service provider wanted them to be able to offer comparable on-premise expertise. In the end, you're going to need something on your premise that keeps your business data accessible securely, organized, and saved and never lost. And so, with the S-Series of products, what we're trying to accomplish is a box that you can redeploy a new, updated primary server, or if it's a first server in an environment that doesn't have one, give you the ability to manage your users, deploy applications, and provide very, very large amounts of storage. And on the right-hand side, with this deployment, we want to modernize your infrastructure so you can reach things like Microsoft Office 365 or Windows Azure. And in order to be such a key part of your business, we needed to take the time to design our product so it met a lot of stringent requirements. In hardware, we have customers, the common joke is that all IT network equipment ends up in the closet. But we have had customers that are so small they don't have a closet. There are other other applications, for example, in video surveillance, where the unit needs to be small and compact, but again, not placed inside the back room. And so we focused on making our unit compact, put a high level of reliability, again, just because it's a medium business or small business or a work group deployment. These products need to be 24/7 on, 24/7 utilization. On the software side, we're looking to make sure we enable information sharing, data protection, and give you the ability to deploy line of business applications. And all of this is backed by a great warranty and services offering support and affordability. And so, with that background, let's go ahead and start to vector in on our live demo. What we want to show is the key software features. We'll explain why the built-in Active Directory and primary controller, domain controller, allows you to provide better security. We're going to demonstrate how you can run a line of business application. A great example is QuickBooks, the #1 SMB application in the market. There's support for cloud-based applications and also backup and recovery software for up to 50 computers. All right, let me exit from here and show you what a configured WD Sentinel DS5100 looks like. What you're seeing here is the desktop. This is the screen that you get right after you've done your UBI and your initial configuration. And of course, it looks like your client PC because it is Windows after all. There are about 1,000+ business applications that have already been certified for Windows Server 2012. For 2012 R2, that number is growing, but you're able to deploy those applications straight on the Windows box, and the compatibility should just work. Now, the first thing I want to do is start from the outside in. In terms of accessibility and security, there's already integration built into the 2012 R2 Essentials that allows you to deploy something like Office 365. And so I'll show you some screens. Over here, we're looking at a web browser that you can actually sign on for Office 365 on your own. It doesn't have to be done from this server. But after you sign on, you get to a management page that looks like this. And then we launch our own DS5100 dashboard. And let me show you what the configuration looks like as we go to configure our services. We'll click on Services here, and we click on Integrate with Office 365, and click on the link here. It starts a process and enable integration wizard. We click on Configure. And then, suddenly, we have an Office 365 tab at the top of the dashboard. When I click on Users and deploying Microsoft online accounts, what happens is that you get the ability to select all your users that don't have integration yet into the Office 365 and deploy Office 365 as a fleet. And then if you look at the Office 365 tab, you also get the basic information of who's managing that Office 365 account. So now your employees can sign on to Office 365 with the same password they use to sign on to your main network, single sign-on, and you get both accessibility to not just only email, which is shown here, but folders and calendars in the cloud. But you also get the assurance that that your user are signing into what is essentially your infrastructure. All right. On organization and keeping things in line for your users, I already alluded to the organization of users. Your users are able to be created with a single sign-on username and password. In addition, I have this unit currently integrated with both Office 365, and I'm managing actually an Exchange server. So you can see that certain sets of my employees have an internal email, while the other guys I've given maybe sales folks an ability to travel around and access Office 365. As you add the storage, let's go ahead and click on Brian here. We're able to look at his properties. He actually has accessibility to company shared folders that we've already created. And so you can see that your users are tied to the certain productivity level company folders that you've given them access to. In addition to that, on the network share, every user is automatically given a little space of their own. So not only do they have access to company folders, they also have a place to store their documents and data. And speaking of storage, you actually have the opportunity to move your company folders back and forth and have all the users carried along with it. In this case, we actually have a company folder that was accidentally installed on the boot drive, and we'll talk about what that is in a moment. But you definitely don't want your shared folders on the smaller volume. So what I'm going to do here is actually, that's the folder itself launched into the C drive. And I'm going to actually move it and the server is smart enough to figure out that there's a larger volume disk, the D drive in particular, with almost 2 terabytes of space. And so what we're doing here is moving that folder to a larger volume. And so you can see if you have started off your business with one set of storage topology, that it's very easy to redefine and redeploy that topology to other disks. And so as company moved over here, my user that we were just looking at, Brian, is actually able to still have access and move to the company folder and not see any interruption in his access to that folder. So again, this particular product allows you to be organized. And let's look at the protected view of the data. You actually want to set up your drives first, but if you don't, this is a demo of what that looks like as you start to set up your drive. We've already configured this device for Windows storage space. And so storage spaces is Windows' way of deploying a software RAID, and we can add disks. It allows for thin provisioning. You're able to put large mixed match sizes of disk, and everything looks like a storage pool. Instead of storage spaces, we also give you the option to use the hardware accelerated RAID. Now you get to choose one or the other, not mixed mode, but I'm going to show you what that looks like because I've actually deployed the service here, and that screen looks like this here. And so if you are really comfortable with RAID and are on top of the different types of RAID that you're able to use, RAID 0 through RAID 10, then you can opt to use WD RAID storage utility. All right, and in the end, we've deployed a lot of low-level software to monitor your hardware, and this is a WD unique page, the monitor page, that allows you to take a look at what's the operating temperature of your system and the health of your drives. All right, so what we've shown here is that you have accessibility to your employees have accessibility to their data securely, single sign-on. That you're able to organize your users and your folder shares, and then with the low-level software, the WD RAID utility, and storage spaces, that we're keeping your data protected, saved, and never lost. Let's get back into our presentation. And so I alluded to boot drives. This unit comes with 4 front-loaded 3.5-inch what we call data and application hard drives. But in addition to that, we've actually deployed the ability to we deployed some boot drives that will have your Microsoft Windows Storage Server 2012 R2 Essentials loaded on it, preloaded and pre-activated. So when you buy the unit, you already get the Essentials server. And we spent 12 months working on what is a really, really unique industry-leading mechanical and electrical design. And then we say that because the size of our product, plus the Xeon class Intel processor, plus the custom engineering to keep it cool and quiet, is something that's very different than what you can find on the market. These other products are great products. They're just servers. They're not intended to be storage and servers. But you can see that the horsepower in a microserver are being done on just a standard Intel processors versus a server class processors, and they're larger. The 2 microservers here are almost 2 times larger than our unit, and a typical Xeon quad-core product shown on the right-hand side is 5 times larger than our DS and S-Series products. Next, this is an overview of the key hardware features. We mentioned that it's ultra-compact storage plus server. We believe it's the industry's smallest form factor for an Intel Xeon class processor. We have the ability to, with the 6100, comes with 16 gigabyte of ECC RAM. We give the users the ability to upgrade themselves to 32 gigabytes of ECC. We have best-in-class data protection, and we include on the technical support and hardware an additional 1 year of Guardian Pro global service and support included for this product. And so our positioning, we believe we're proven, reliable, and affordable. Proven, we're using the best and latest Windows Server family of products. Intel Xeon server class processor. And many people don't know, for WD, we've established in Blazer Trail in network converged storage solutions. Our X-Series was the top-selling Windows Server 2008 R2 Essentials based product. And so we support thousands of applications with this product that are geared and targeted towards business. In terms of reliable, we like to say we're dual redundant everything by design. We also include a front bezel lock and Kensington lock for physical security. And in terms of foldability, we believe we're an incredible value and ROI for the business. We have enterprise caliber warranty and technical support. And our first unit starts at $2,560 for an all-in-one storage and server solution. This table gives you the options that we come in. We have two models, the WD Sentinel DS5100 and the WD Sentinel DS6100. And we'll just go through the differences here. The 6100 comes with a quad core versus a dual core in the 5100. The 6100 comes with 16 gigabyte of ECC RAM versus 8 on the 5100. The 6100, we include two 2.5-inch boot drives by default, automatically in RAID 1. The DS5100, it comes with one, and you have the option to buy a second one. And then the last one is the DS6100. We ship two full adapters with that product for redundant power supplies. In the DS5100, we give you one, and you have the option to buy the second one. And when you look at our package, again, the servers that are available on the market are great servers. You're able to do a lot of general purpose functions for that. With the WD Sentinel DS6100 and the S-Series line, we've custom designed that for a purpose. And if I were to steal WD or Kia's line, it's a purpose-built product for providing you both storage plus server. All the things that come pre-installed and pre-built in saves you time and money. And the deployment, it takes about 40 minutes for the Windows OS to install itself and go through the initial settings. Again, as a domain server and as an Active Directory server, there is a lot of spending time that Microsoft does to lock down the unit and make sure that those pipes to the other application servers are made available. But we have 4 front-loaded 3.5-inch hard drive disks to enhance the storage capability. We have dedicated boot drives so that you can start with Essentials and migrate up without interrupting your application and data on the main 4 hard drives. Or you could keep the same server OS and migrate the data drive to another application as your business grows. It comes with a RAID controller option 0, 1, 5, 10 to protect all your business data. Dual gigabit Ethernet to make sure you're always connected and always on for all those cloud applications that you and your employees are interfacing with. And dual power option just to make sure that your units are always running in the case of mission critical applications. All right. So with that, I'd like to hand it over to Steve Smith for pricing and availability. Steve?
Thanks, Paul. Okay, great. So we just wanted to, this is a one slider here that shows the pricing and availability. As you can see on the upper right, we have the capacity and the models and the MSRPs. We've got a 4 terabyte and an 8 terabyte on the DS5100 and an 8, 12, and 16 on the DS6100. And as Paul just went through a couple slides earlier on the differences between the two. Now today we actually have value-added resellers, solution providers, IT consultants. We also have some end users as well on the call. So on the left-hand side for the VARs and IT consultants, we do have Ingram Micro and D&H, and they are in stock and ready for you guys, ready to ship out. And for the end users, certainly you can contact your local VAR or IT consultant. We also have CDW, PC Connection, and Insight as well. And of course, if you have any questions at all, we have our email address right here, smbstorage@wdc.com. We also have a phone number for you to call. We have Kelly Skaggs, our SMB storage specialist, and the number there is provided. So anyway, please feel free to reach out to us or your local VARs or your distribution partners there. So we're very excited. So what we'll do here in this part of the presentation is we're going to leave this slide up. And so you can jot down the email and where to find the product, the MSRPs, the phone number here. And while we have this slide up, we will do some Q&A. So we got a lot of good questions in the question box, and feel free to continue to write your questions, and we will make sure we get them answered for you. Okay. Are you ready, Paul?
Yes, I sure am.
Okay, so first question. Can you add the DS5100 and DS6100 to an existing Active Directory domain environment?
Okay, so the DS5100 and DS6100 were designed to be primary first servers, and so if you have an existing domain controller on your network, it's probably older, so you're gonna want to migrate that control over to these units. We are meant and intended to be a primary server. However, if you actually want to use our server in a mode that isn't the primary, you can actually do a thing called transmog, where you take a fully purchased standard Windows storage server, Windows Server 2012 R2 standard license key, and through one of the PowerShells you enter that key. You don't have to do any installation, and transmog it up. We recommend that folks, if they do transmog it to standard, that they put it in and enable the Essentials role. Again, in the standard with Essentials role, you don't have to be the primary domain controller, Active Directory controller, but this gives you up to 75 users, and you don't have to go through the worrisome need of purchasing client access license and CALs. All right.
Great.
Next question.
So we have a question here that says, we use DX4000 series and have about 20 of them at our client offices for backup servers. How long will it take to rebuild the RAID if they choose the RAID option with the new DS series system, as it took longer than expected with the X series?
It's with the S series, we went to a boot drive, data drive model, and so the RAID rebuilds are much quicker. And actually, you can pop a few disks out here and there to speed up the RAID rebuild. But with the original DX4000 series, those were targeted as just storage servers, and we decided to make those easy RAID, and so they were automatically RAID 5 or RAID 1. And in doing that model, it has the OS also on the drives themselves, and so you've seen some delays in verifying and rebuilding. Again, with this one, the brain of the product are on the boot drives, and then the RAID accelerator that we have is also off the hard drive, the four hard drives, and so RAID and rebuilds are very, very fast. Next question.
Okay, great. There's another RAID-related question. It was, what kind of RAID controller is in there?
It's a Marvell XOR. It's a RAID accelerator, if you will. We can provide the exact model after the webinar.
Okay.
Those that are interested.
Next question. Are both the 5100 and DS6100 upgradable to 32 gigs of RAM?
Yes, they both are upgradable to 32 gigabytes of RAM, and there are instructions in the user manual online on how to do that. Of course, we would like to tell everybody, make sure you follow the best practices as you modify the server and products. But you're allowed to do upgrades. Please purchase ECC RAM, high quality, if you will. So got a high quality server, so I want to keep you guys running. Next question, Steve.
Great. So this question is, can you compare the S-Series with the DX4000 main differences? I know you pointed this out in one of those slides. Can you just go over quickly the couple of those differences?
Sure. The X-Series came with an Intel Atom processor. This S-Series comes with a Xeon. Again, if you're doing more server and line of business applications with your storage, you're gonna need a beefier processor. If you're doing just straight NAS or SAN applications like you've seen with the X-Series, then the Intel Atom is fine. The memory, there are some differences in memory as well. The DX4000 came with 2 GB of ECC RAM, and the 1U rack mount RX4100 of the same family X-Series came with 4 GB of RAM. Obviously, with these units, it's with 8 GB on 5100 and 16 GB of RAM on the 6100. And the biggest difference is the operating system. The Windows Storage Server 2008 R2 Essentials gives you a baseline storage server model where you're both using it as a Windows NAS or Windows SAN, whereas this comes with Windows Server 2012 R2 Essentials. In both cases, I'll put some similarities, Steve, because that's important. In both cases, we took the approach of doing more for a cross-platform environment, and so both families of products, the X-Series and the S-Series, work great with your Mac products. We mentioned that earlier. You're able to do time machine backup as well to both products. And
great.
So,
yeah, that was a good question to point out the differences between the two. And here's another related question. Can you also integrate the S-Series with the DX-Series storage solution? Maybe you can talk a little bit to that question as well.
Yes. In fact, if it's a primary server, we would be it'd be something amiss if they didn't work together. So, Steve, I'm going to take a chance to take a snap here and show what that looks like. Over here in the DS5100, we have the nice user dashboard. Obviously, it's a server, so it has PowerShell and also has Server Manager. But if I launch Server Manager here, you can see that you can see that I'm actually managing 3 servers from my primary server here. I have a server called Gallivan T server, and I have a separate MS Exchange 2013 server running on another box, and I'm also managing a WD storage. This is a DX4000, and so you're actually able to manage the fleet of your products from one single pane server manager very easily.
Great.
So let me go back and pop this up. So any more questions, Steve?
Yes. So is it hardware or software RAID?
It is. We call it a hardware accelerated RAID. There's a Marvell XOR chip there, and then there's a software utility, again, the WD RAID utility. The combination of both makes the RAID fast. It's not a full hardware RAID ROC, but it does give you a better control of your RAID than what we deployed in the X-Series of products. Again, the X-Series is easy installed, and it's not even 30 minutes. It's much less than that. With this product, we heard from our customers that with a storage plus server model, we need to give certain members of our expert community the ability to have finer grain control of what they do with the RAID, how they stripe their disks, and how they divide their storage.
Okay. Another kind of related question. So the question is, so it has a separate drive for the OS. Yes, you talked about that, the boot drive. If so, is this rated?
Yes. Well, if you have the one disk model, obviously it's not rated against itself. But if you buy the DS5100, it comes with the 2, and it'd be auto RAID 1. Again, we took the auto RAID concept from the X-Series, but applied it to the boot drive. You have the with the DS5100, if you install a second drive, we assume it's for the purpose of rating the first one, and so as you install it, it gets into auto RAID mode for that as well.
Okay.
So that your OS is protected.
Great. Yeah. And with your comparison chart, it looks like we're one of the few that have this these boot drives, which is great. The another question. So
can I say a little bit more about
Sure.
about that architecture, Steve?
Sure.
The server, when it comes to storage, there's a lot of things that have been exposed in the latest round of Windows Server 2012 R2 family of servers, but they don't really get exposed until you look at the details on storage and look at the performance. So by having the OS not on the mainline drives that you're doing performance applications, you're actually going to see a greater gain in how many users you can manage. So it's more about workload, and maybe not a straight point-to-point, one-to-one transfer like you would see in the home. So it's really an architecture designed to scale. And so even though the license keeps you at 25 users, this whole platform allows you to grow. I mentioned earlier about transmogging to the standard. And so for those solution providers that are on the phone call, you know that you're deploying something that gets your business started now and then allows them to grow over time.
Okay. Another question. Is this a headless unit like the DX?
This one has a VGA port in the back, so you're and USB USB ports. We actually added a few more USB 3.0 ports, but no, you actually have the ability to manage the unit live from a monitor and keyboard.
Great. Will there be a rack mount version available?
It's probably the most common question
Yeah.
we get. We've heard the feedback from the from our customers and clients, and so we're exploring the possibilities. We should note the first slide that you presented, Steve, showed the advancement of our portfolio, and so WD is looking to always grow and allow our customer base to deploy great solutions both in the X-Series and the S-Series. So if you're interested in a rack mount version of this, please do contact us by email, and we'd love to discuss with you what you're looking for in that form factor.
Yeah, and then of course we got some similar comment on the rack mount of, can we include the rack mount rail kit, you know, with the product as opposed to an additional upgrade. So another good comment. So we'll keep those in mind as we continue the roadmap for this product. Very good. Great. Some great questions here. We have a few more questions. Let's see here. I got another rack mount question. I'll get rid of that one as we just discussed it. Could a DVD drive be added to a boot WinPE image or Linux image to work on the system?
Read that question again, Steve.
Could a DVD drive be added to boot a Windows image or Linux image to work on the system?
Down below, you can obviously modify the BIOS or point the BIOS at a DVD drive. we do want to let the audience here know that there's a lot of custom WD software, low-level software services and drivers built in. In order to get so many drives, it's essentially up to a 6-drive model in such a small form factor. We do have a lot of technology in our software and services to make sure that the unit runs cool and quiet. It's quieter than our DX4000. Again, we have over 12 months of electrical engineering and mechanical engineering work put into making sure that that this unit is able to do the performance, but also keep very quiet. But very key to all that mechanical and electrical is the software that monitors it and keeps the unit running at a certain level. And so, if you boot in WinPE and you play with other OSs, you do lose all of that. And so we do actually prefer folks to make sure that they're using the established image that we have here. So if you are booting off the network or booting off of another ISO, that you build your base off of the OS that we provided in the services and drivers.
Okay.
It's intended to be an appliance deployment. It's not a general purpose server.
So can you talk about the warranty? What is the warranty?
It's a 1-year standard warranty in the U.S. and other regions, 2 years in Europe. With these two models, we actually include 1-year Guardian Services Pro with the purchase of the product. The Service Pro allows you to have parts replacements and phone and call support 24/7.
Okay. What backup software does it come with?
Oh, okay. So, yeah, that's a good question. Let me do again a pop out to a live demo if you don't mind.
Sure.
So, yeah, there are two things two backup options that occur. There actually is this button called Set Up Server Backup, and what that does is it helps you actually back up your server, your OS and all that, and within the unit itself. So it'll keep a folder and partition for your own server. And in fact, it's complaining to me right now because I don't have that turned on. But of course, most of the solution providers here are looking to back up off-site. So there are applications out there on Microsoft Pinpoint of varying providers for example, backup solutions for the Windows Server here. In the, of course, it is a Microsoft product. So in the Services tab on your first page, there's their ability to integrate with Windows Azure Backup. And integrate with other add-ins. So the one add-in is, of course, Windows Azure Backup. So we'll be looking to work with several of our partners. Obviously, this is WD has a lot of options because of the Windows platform. But by family, you know that WD produces the Arkia family of network backup, and the integration is very easy. You would deploy the WD Arkia Windows backup agent on this server just like you would with any Windows product, and you could be backed up to a WD Arkia network appliance within minutes.
Okay. This is our last question. I've been able to answer some questions.
Oh, may I add one more thing, Steve?
Sure.
We also have partnerships and have done compatibility work with StorageCraft for backup. So just to let the audience know, it's a Windows box.
Great.
So you get for those solution providers that have Windows-based backup solutions, this will fit right into their portfolio.
So our last question, and I want to also mention to everyone out there, thank you very much. We've had some great comments as well, not necessarily questions, but just some comments about how we've really raised the bar here, and it's really exciting. So thank you, everybody, for your great comments. One last question. Can we use this as an iSCSI storage target in an existing domain? And what about cloud replication for off-site backup? So,
yes, the answer is yes, you can use this for iSCSI target. In fact, this is probably a good time to mention we've actually posted online on YouTube a video, a how-to video about iSCSI and the SAN environment. So to do that within this product, again, it's enabled through Server Manager. You would click on your dashboard and add a role of feature, and you can actually see in my file and services, I have iSCSI enabled here. Can you guys see this really quick? I've actually created a virtual disk and have it connected to a PC that's turned off right now. But regardless, you're able to deploy iSCSI. The biggest difference between R2 and 2012, or one of the biggest differences, that in Windows, the latest version of Windows, they've actually improved a lot of the performance in iSCSI and the performance in Windows storage spaces. So you'll see that there's thick and thin provisioning and lots of features in iSCSI for this product. All right.
Okay, we had just one more that did come in. It's about the Anywhere Access. Can you explain how the Anywhere Access works briefly?
Okay. If you're familiar with the Anywhere Access from even in the 2008 time frame, you're able to actually enable it here during using the Setup Anywhere Access. And what it does is it creates a, you can either integrate it to your own domain name, or WD will give, not WD, Microsoft will actually give you a link, remotewebaccess.com. And from there, you're able to access the server using a regular web browser on any device. In that Anywhere Access, you're going to be signing on using, again, the same password that you have for your regular network, and so a single sign-on. It's over HTTPS, web remote access. There's a relay server. It gets you to essentially what is your own folder view of your own storage. And so, so Anywhere Access, if you're interested in that, you can look online and also deploy it with this product. We'll probably produce another YouTube how-to video for the S-Series showing what those screens look like. Okay.
So is this similar to remote desktop?
It is a web-friendly version of remote desktop. You don't get the full desktop screen that you see here. For those that are users, you get your folder views and your access to your items. For administrators, you get a little bit more, but you don't get the full RDP.
Great. Okay, well, that's going to conclude our Q&A portion of the webinar. I want to thank you very much for all your comments and for attending today's webinar. Again, as you can see on the screen, hopefully you've jotted down the phone number and email. And thank you again, and have a great day.
Thank you, Steve.